Back in mid-April, we received a call at the North American Bigfoot Center that a sighting had occurred the night before. Apparently, one of the guys who comes in the shop fairly often, his son saw a Sasquatch on the way home from work. The call came in, but we didn't have contact information, so we couldn't reach out to the witness. But about a week and a half later, the father came in with his son to tell us the story. The witness apparently works quite late. He gets off of work around 12:30 at night. There's one particular corner that he takes that he always goes very, very slow at because the house on the corner is vacant and a herd of deer has taken to bedding down on the front lawn. He was turning left around the corner and then something dashed out in front of his car. This thing crossed the road in 2 steps, going from right to left. The witness swerved and stopped his vehicle, and then right in front of his hood was a stump. A stump. While the witness was looking at this stump, one side of his brain is saying, look at the stump. The other side of his brain is saying, there's no stump here. I drive home every single night. There is no stump there. And then suddenly, the stump stands up.
At this point, my brain's trying to register everything that it could be. Like, I'm thinking, is this a person trying to play a trick on me? You know, what is this? You know, what's going on? This thing's way too big to be a person. It turns around, lowers down, and then looks, and it's looking dead at me. My light is right in its face. I can see like pretty much every detail of it, and it does this bark or this howl. It sounds like a howler monkey, but the end of it is like this really high pitch. So it's and then it just took 2 breaths. This entire time, everything feels like it's in slow motion for me. I know this was only a few seconds, but it felt like forever for me. And then it does this with its hand. It's like it's directing me to leave. I mean, I can explain. I mean, its 4 arms, or at least that big around. Its hand, I can't put my thumb the way that it was, but hand, when it outstretched, was outreached like that. The eyes were a reddish amber color. Not red like they're glowing red, but like if you look at gorillas and things like that, sometimes you'll see a reddish color. But the unique thing about that was it wasn't just like a primate color. It had like a yellow tint in between, around. So it had red around the pupil, then like a yellow, and then a red, but all different shades of amber. Where you would have the white of the eye was tinted more like a grayish or a darker color. It had the brow, like the head wasn't as big as usually you see in a lot of the drawings and stuff like that. The head was smaller in comparison to the rest of the body, but the torso itself was, if you were to take off my arms and put 2 of me side by side, that was its like each side of his pack. The hair, when it put his arm out, it like draped off of it. The smell was like it was like a faint, not a faint, but like a skunk smell without the burning sensation, but mixed with like a rotting kind of meat smell along with it. Since that incident, since that night, my brother and I have gone around and actually noticed the smell continues around, and it's definitely something that my brother, who's lived here for years, has noticed in the past. So whatever we have going on up here, this is its habitat. I'm a big guy and I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not saying I'm not afraid of anything. I've been a bouncer in the past. I've been private security. I'm not usually afraid of things. I have never shooken that much in my life. The closest thing to it was when I was on the bus for going to basic training and getting yelled at by the sergeants. But I never knew that all my body could shiver in different directions. The hairs on the back of my neck, everything in my body was telling me I needed to get out of that area. It was ingrained in my, like in our genes, like we don't want to be around this. I was like, just my emotions, like such a mixed amount of emotions I was crying. Like when I came in to talk to you guys, when you guys were asking questions, it was bringing things up. I've gotten a little bit easier at talking about it, but talking with you guys, I started like choking up, because there's part of you that you don't, like, you want to be able to talk about it, but the other part of you is worried that how it makes you look or other things. But the thing is, and then there's the idea that you now know that this thing exists. It changes you.
The witness drives back to his house just a few miles away and then realizes he has to get out of his car to go to the backyard to the RV where he's temporarily staying. Ugh. Well, his brother came home about 20 minutes later and found the witness white-knuckling the steering wheel in the front yard, still in the position, afraid to leave the vehicle. His brother said, "What in the world are you doing?" And of course, the witness described the whole thing to him. And he goes, "Well, let's go back and look." And the witness says, "No way, man, I'm not going over. No. And so his brother went over there. And what his brother observed there were no deer. Well, that's interesting. And there was a smell permeating the area. When he got back to the witness, he goes, "There's no deer and it smelled real bad. You got to come back." And the witness reluctantly went back to the area to take a whiff for himself. And sure enough, it was the same smell he noted as he was staring this thing down. Well, the witness told me that a few months before, his kid hit a pole or something in the car. So one of the headlights is normal, but the other one's all cockeyed, So this thing is standing right in front of his vehicle, fully lit up in the cockeyed sort of headlight there, fully lit up, 12 feet from the witness, looking at him in the vehicle. Can you imagine if the witness had a dash cam and the thing was standing right in front of his vehicle? Imagine what that footage would be, that whole thing, man. It would be mind-blowing. So that tells us Bigfooters, we all need dash cams. Go get them. Buy a dash cam. Now. Now, the witness's description is fantastic. He saw the color of the eyes. He saw there was a slightly lighter yellow ring around the iris of the eye. He saw that the sclera, the white part of the eye, was actually pigmented. It was brown, like in the other ape species. Chimpanzees and gorillas very often have this feature. He saw the hair color. He described it as black and brown and bits of red, all kind of speckled together. The flat teeth right in front had a jutting lower jaw. He actually drew a picture of it for us. The witness described how hair was about 6 inches long, draping off of the forearm. He also described how the fingers just laid loosely down, and the thumb wasn't like mine. It went down the same direction as the other fingers, just straight down. How would a witness that isn't a Bigfoot nerd like us here at the NABC know about the thumb positioning of a Sasquatch? He wouldn't. Bigfoot wasn't even really on his radar before he saw this thing. But still, that's what he saw. About a week and a half after the sighting, the witness came into the shop here at the North American Bigfoot Center with his father to share his experience with us. The guy was visibly shaken. The 6'3" tall former security guard was covered with goosebumps as he relaying this story. He was very visibly upset, frankly. When I invited him into the back room to take a look at Murphy and say, "Hey, how is Murphy different than the one you saw?" I said, "Hey, here's Murphy, what do you think?" And I look back at the witness, his eyes are welling up in tears, even though there's a number of other customers in the room with him. The guy could not hold it together. He described a number of things about Murphy that were the same or a little bit different, that sort of thing, but I was very impressed with this witness. I don't think anybody could speak to this witness and see his natural reactions and think for a second that this guy's lying about what he saw. Well, we made arrangements to go out to the location with the witness as soon as possible. And before long, I see what I think is a footprint. There was a sighting here on April 14th. It crossed from that brush over there, over to there. But scouting the area, we found a possible footprint, possible half cast is what it looks like to me. So I'm gonna check this out and see if we can cast this thing, because I'm not sure it's a Bigfoot print, but when in doubt, cast it. I'm trying to pull out all the loose stuff here. I'm not gonna remove anything that's attached to the ground, but all this stuff on top, I'm just gonna pull out real fast and see if we can get anything out of this. This caught my eye, so I pull this down a little bit. We have a possible toe here, 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 and here. 4 toes, but very often the small one doesn't register. And I also like this raised mound of dirt right behind the mid-tarsals here. This area is really interesting because on June 12th, I believe it was, last year, I had a woman come into the shop here and share with me a possible Bigfoot sighting on the very same creek that runs next to this property. It is less than 3,000 feet away. That's a little over a half mile away. That's very encouraging. And that tells me that the Sasquatches are using that creek for something. Moving around, maybe they're foraging through it, something. I don't know. They never walk on beautiful flat land through sand or mud. It's always up nonsense like this. That same creek goes through the backyard of the witness's brother. And once his brother smelled that smell, he said, I remember this smell. I've smelled it in our own backyard in the creek bed. A pattern is developing. We were in the area looking at measurements, and suddenly from the corner house, from where the Sasquatch was before it crossed the road, all these like yippy dogs and stuff are barking, and some dude comes out in the front yard. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm gonna go over and talk to this guy and smooth things out and, hopefully maybe learn a little bit more. So I went over and talked to that guy, the property owner, and I said, hey, yeah, my name's Cliff. Yeah, I'm sorry about the dogs and stuff. I apologize. And no big deal, man. What are you guys doing? I said, well, yeah, we're kind of looking into the area here because that guy over there reported to us that he saw a Sasquatch cross the road about a week and a half ago. And the property owner goes, geez, blah, 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 blah. Kind of like you guys are fools. This whole thing's nonsense. It's like, and I'm used to that, and I don't care. I know I'm foolish, but I'm not a fool. So I say, oh yeah, well, I understand. He may not believe about it, but it turns out the real, and and that's what that guy said, and it seems to be he's the real deal here. So have you been hearing anything unusual lately or anything like that? And the guy goes, no, nothing like that. No. Basically saying, no, parentheses, Bigfoots aren't real. Don't worry about it. No. And then I said, yeah, okay, well, I just wanted to ask, because sometimes people hear things they don't understand that are actually Sasquatch related. And he goes, well, when was this? I said, oh, it was on April 14th, the night of the April 14th. And he goes, oh, yeah, no. And his whole face changed. And I went, ooh, we're on to something. I said, you want to tell me something, don't you? And he goes, well, that was right about that time that we were smelling that thing. I go, what do you mean smelling that thing? Yeah. My wife likes to sleep with the windows cracked, And for like a night or two, right in that time that you're mentioning, there was this horrible smell outside. We couldn't figure out what it was. I said, really? Well, what did it smell like? And his words were, it kind of smelled like skunk combined with burnt coffee grounds. And I turned to the witness and said, skunk and burnt coffee grounds. He goes, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So even this guy, the skeptic, the non-believer, the property owner here, had information for us. Once the neighbor kind of clued in, it's like, oh my God, these guys are serious, and I did smell something. There may be something going on. I think he started mulling over his possibilities. And he commented that the house behind the vacant house, that property owner, I think he said Rich or Richard or something, if I remember right, apparently that property owner comes outside and yells in the yard at night. Kind of unusual behavior. I thought I was the only one who did that, right? So apparently he comes out and just like yells out into the dark. It's like, why would he be doing that? Well, I have an idea, why he might be doing that. So I was asking him more questions about it. He says, so how often does he do it? And he goes, well, I saw him do it once. And I said, wait, you saw him do it once? How often have you heard him doing it? He goes, oh, I've heard him do it kind of a lot, really. I said, but you've only seen him do it once? He goes, yeah, maybe that's not him yelling. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe those weird yells at 2 in the morning in the area where the deer and the elk are bedding down next to the creek that 2,000, 3,000 feet that way had a sighting last year, and one ran across the road right here apparently numerous times. Maybe that's not your neighbor. Maybe. Or maybe it is your neighbor, but your neighbor's 8 feet tall and covered in hair, and you just haven't met him yet. We took our time and we eventually pulled this big old footprint. It weighs like 8 or 10 pounds. It's ridiculous. And then gotta let it dry to see what we get. Keeping it pretty squatchy. And a week or two later, we had the opportunity to clean it off. But that is for another video.